Hi there, it's Elaine here and welcome back to my channel, Chattylaine Creates. And today I am going to give you a little bit of a how-to glue book. Now, what's glue booking? So this sort of video, I'm going to do probably a mini series, maybe 2 or 3 videos on basically how to get started and what glue booking is, because some people just don't know and others are a little bit wary of getting going and what to do. So firstly, glue booking is whatever you want it to be, and I have a selection of different types of glue book that I have or have started, or I do have a couple that I'm about to start, and I also make my own. This is handmade, and my Christmas journal was handmade. My Christmas glue book, I should say, was handmade. And then, oh, just knock the glue over. That's important. Glue, scissors. I do have a smaller pair of scissors, and I do use a bone folder. You could use an old credit type card or gift card or something like that to help smooth the pages down. Where is it? I've got buried under a big pile. I've got a cloth that I sometimes use to smooth it out, because I'm quite heavy-handed and sometimes this can catch. This particular one, the one I've got in the house, is much rounder and a bit more like a bone folder, where this is actually plastic and it's got quite a point on it, which can prove useful at times. You can hold small things that are on the end of it to position it, and then you can stick it down and there's not much sort of to try and pull away. So some of my glue books I have covered, but you know, I've made videos of me working in them, so you will see some of this before. We've seen some of this before if you've watched some of my other videos. But scissors and glue are the most important things, obviously, and something to glue onto and with. So I'm going to cover the glue books and what you can use today and how to use them, and just generally what it is. So what is glue booking? Right, now then, let me just put that away a minute. I'm going to cover different types to start with. I think that's probably the best place to start. So I'm going to put those over there. And some of these are whoppers now, you know, they're really quite big, and they are taking up quite a lot of room. So I'll put that one over there. Right, magazines. Let's start with that one, shall we? So if you know anything about glue booking, most people tend to use magazine images, and you can also use the magazine itself to create a glue book. So this was actually a catalogue rather than a magazine, but I don't know whether I've actually got an actual magazine one, but this is more or less the same sort of thing. So this was double width of this. I've not cut it, it's always been this height, But what we do with these is we fold the pages in. So that was the original size of the book. This was a Chattylaine catalogue, which is basically kitchen equipment and things you can use in your kitchen. I've covered it with a magazine image. I've added me teddy on the front, and I've got various patchwork of pictures on the cover. I haven't done the inside cover because I haven't decided yet whether I want to, but I have decorated it. So these are folded pages, so I've folded them in half. I'm trying to find one that's not been used yet. So this one is folded, that's the edge of the paper. This one is actually probably a little bit far out, but you have to allow enough room for the magazine to grow, or the book to grow. So you do have to remove pages from the majority of things that you use. You can use things like, this is a catalogue. I've used notebooks all joined together. There's 3 notebooks in my colour glue book, all joined together. You can just, I don't know whether you can see that online on the screen, but there's 3 all joined together, and I've actually put duct tape down there to try and help. They're all glued together cover to cover. Let me just find a cover. Here's a cover, and I've got 2 glued together. I don't know whether you can really tell, but there are 2 there. So that's how I've joined them. I didn't take any paper out of this book. I did take pages out of this one, because the thing is that if you're adding paper to the pages, it will start to bulk up. So you need to remove some to allow that growth as you add your own images to the pages. So this is notebook. This is a catalogue folded in half, and I might actually show you how to do one of those. I do have a couple of big catalogues that I can magazines that I can use. This is also a catalogue. This is my collective, or basically an en masse book. En masse meaning a group, or in masse. It's French for in masse. So en is in French. So this is a old furniture catalogue, and so covering the pages, you know, they've all got furniture on the original pages, and I'm just gluing over them. And I have removed some, but not many, only the ones that one I've mucked up when I was preparing it. Some I've taken out because I want what's on the page, because I like the chairs or whatever, and I haven't taken a massive amount out, and it's already starting to get bulky. I think it's going to hold up, but as you can see, this spine is quite well stuck in a sort of a whole section of, they're all glued together here, this whole bit here, and obviously my adding, you can sort of see where they start, which is obviously the center of the page. And I've tried not to go too far into the ditch of the spine, but on some pages it depends on how the book falls, you know. The ones that you've taken out tend to have a slightly bigger opening So obviously you've made room by removing pages. So there's not much on that one, that's E. So in my en masse book, I have just literally tried to cover the page with whatever I've chosen. Now the en masse book is a collection of whatever you want it to be. And I have done the alphabet. I've done one page for each letter of the alphabet. This is C. I've labelled them down the side, and I'm just basically, I mean, quite often what I do is leave a picture not quite stuck down so that I can tuck stuff out underneath it, especially like a fussy cut picture like this one of the camels. The square edges aren't quite so difficult to do, but actually butting up underneath that to fill that what's on the page it can be a bit of a pain. So, but it's the way I do it. I mean, there's a little bit of word in here. There's a little triangle because I didn't want to cover up the chocolate carousel. There's a little bit here, I think. Was that an image? Oh no, that's part of the dog and cat. They're cuddling. That's why it's on a C page and not on a D page or a C page. Well, the cat's a C, but a dog isn't. It's cuddling. That's why it's on the C page. And I've just chosen things and put them in as I find them. Now, some people like to create a page all in one go, collect all the images together for that particular page, but I find that you're trying to hold on to so many images in so many folders, because I tend to use plastic zippy folders or flappy over folders for my images, and it just was getting too much. So I try to stick them as I go along or as I find them. And you can end up with tiny little bits like this, which haven't been added to yet. Can you see me? Yeah. And obviously under the camels, all of this is part of the original page of the book. And just, I quite like the piecing together, so that's good for me. But you know, not everybody likes doing that. Some people like to have a definite, right, this goes here, 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 and just square images. But I think the broken up in images of a cut piece just adds more impact to the page, more interest to the page. Yeah, some of them I've not hardly got anything on. So I've got all the alphabet, all of the colours, including metallic and black and white, and then the rest of the pages are what I've chosen to have in this book. So this is my kind of index. The pages aren't actually numbered, but I tend to use the alphabet and the colours to find the other things. But I do have a couple, like this one's the perfume page. I've got like a funny little tag that I've made that's got a perfume bottle. I think there's a couple like that. I think I did one for my desserts, was it? Or I've got another one somewhere that's got a funny little tag sticking out. I think I did one for the shoes, did I? No. Nope. So all the colours have got a tab and they run along the top. And all the alphabet goes down the side. And then anything else in between, if I've made a tab, I've tried to fit it so it doesn't really interfere too much with the letters. And I've also got a numbers page, which I've just put a number on it. which is more or less full. I love this book. It's quite time consuming finding things to go in it, and then when you're filling it, finding a space for it on the page without obliterating everything else, that's also a bit of a challenge as well. So my colour glue book, and this is another notebook which I have got a couple of pieces in, but I haven't got much at the moment. They are more fantasy pieces in here at the moment, and I don't quite know whether I'm going to stick with that or just have it as stick whatever I want in it. I haven't quite decided on that one. But basically, I don't take any pages out too much, partly because I just don't always need to do it. If it's getting to the point where it's bulking up rather a lot, then I will take some pages out. But generally, like this one is 3 separate books, and at the moment I haven't taken any pages out of it. So preparing your book is up to you, depends on what you use. If you're using an actual book, a proper hardback book for instance, and I have got a hardback notebook, and I'll show you. This does, well, they call it a notebook, but it is actually blank paper. I haven't actually started this one. This is going to be a random glue book when I get going on it. I don't very often do random, but with this type of book, as this bulks out, because it's got a hard cover and a hard spine, you probably would need to take pages out. So you could take them out to start with and thin it down so that it's, you know, much narrower here, because there's, you know, fewer pages in it. Or you can sort of do it as you go along, as long as you don't take out. See, the trouble is with this type of book is they're in signatures inside the book. And what is a signature? A signature is a group of pages, maybe 3 or 4. This would be A3 to start with, and they're folded in half, and then they're sewn together and then sewn into the book individually, and that's called a signature. And obviously this has got lots of signatures in it. I'm just trying to find one that's in the middle of the signature so you can see where it is. Let's see if I can find one. There we go. So there's the stitching. There's the stitching. You can see it right in there, and there, you know, every so often. You can pull the centre one out. So for instance, I'd get that one and that one, which is the same bit of paper, and they should hopefully come out of the book. Now the only trouble is with doing this is the thread is going to get a little bit baggier, and you know, you get bits left behind. And obviously this paper can get damaged pulling it out, but you can still utilise it. You can use it for other things. But if you go through the whole of the book, pulling out 1 or 2 pages from each signature, you will probably pull out over half of the book, and you'll be left with, you know, quite a small amount of pages left, because as you add your own images, it thickens up, and then the book itself starts to distort So another tip is, if you're using a hardback book like this, you need to, what I call, jump around in the book. You can't go from front to back because the spine will just twist on itself. But if you jump around the book, front, back, middle, you know, and very randomly jump around, the spine doesn't tend to warp the same. These are just some bits I've put in here. So a hardback book, an old book of any sort, even with text, or, you know, on wine or cookery book or whatever, you can just glue over the pages. But I advise you that you would need to prepare it and take some pages out. So you can use books as well as magazines and notebooks. These are quite thin pages, so I've kind of found that it can cope. I mean, this is a stitched one, and this one is probably stitched as well, I expect. But this is white lined paper like that. Don't know if I can find a middle one of these. Not sure where one is. Thing is, because this is, oh, there's one there. Oh yeah, it's stitched all the way. See the dark thread? That's probably the centre of that particular book, which would be the centre of my book, because this is the middle book. You can see that black line down the middle. That's actually the stitching holding the book together. So moving on to handmade books. These two are handmade by me, and this is actually a sketchbook, this one, this big one, and it's just plain white paper, normally used for, you know, sketching artwork. It's quite thin, it's fairly cheap. I think I bought it from Wilko's when they were still going. They've now ceased to trade, which most of the country is quite sad about, because they had some really good stuff at a fairly reasonable price. So this one's my big A3, the High Life. And most of these I've worked in. There are videos on me working in all of these, I think, except for obviously the ones I haven't started yet. And my little, this is just a mini notebook that I've only just started. My daughter gave me, it's a spot one. And again, it's stitched. The thing is with staples, the staples can get weakened by, so I do find that stitched ones are better. I haven't taken any out of this, and quite often, you know, because they're thin anyway, the book can usually cope okay. But it's just the hardbacks that don't cope so well. So that one, I haven't got much in there yet. It's just going to be all sorts of weird random mini stuff going on in there. This one is food and flowers, the food and flowers glue book, which is coming along. I've been playing with that recently, adding some stuff, all sorts of weird stuff. But most pages I've got flowers on it, food on it, and people. So let's go back to handmade books. So this is probably, let's do this one first. Trouble is they're so big, I don't have anywhere else to put them. So I'm having to shuffle them about a bit. So I made both of these. They're in a kind of a junk journal form, especially this one. This is my sci-fi fantasy steampunk book, Gluebook. I've collaged all over the front cover. It's getting a bit bashed about. I do keep sticking stuff down. I do think that really, in hindsight, maybe it's probably best not to cover the cover until the book's near enough finished, because it just gets so much bashed about. I mean, I don't actually have a shelf or anything to keep these on, and they go in and out of a bag that I brought them up here in, and they get caught on the other books in the bag, you know, the other glue books. They muck up the covers as you're going along. So this one I handmade, and I quite like big format books. I don't have an awful lot of small ones, partly because most of the images in a magazine are usually this sort of size. I mean, this particular page, this background page with the bars on it, is out of a Daphne's Diary magazine. And then I've used a couple of cut and collage images out of cut and collage books. Some images. This came out of a sci-fi. I've got quite a few digital art magazines that my daughter gave me, which I've used a lot in this particular glue book. She also went to Comic-Con quite a few times, and so they're very kind of fantasy based, because she loves fantasy anyway, so does my husband. They're quite like that. But so yeah, this is a Daphne's Diary page, and it's a real mixed bag. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's actually off a calendar, but I put it together by all sorts of pages that I've found. Some of my painted paper type pages, old kind of brochures. This is my Tolkien page. This is my vampire page, and just all sorts of stuff in here. I've used brown paper, like the packaging out of Amazon, you know, when they shove it in the box to pack out whatever's in there. All sorts of pages. And I've made my own glue book. I absolutely love this glue book, and this was the inspiration. So they're all different sized pages. I've been adding to this fairly recently. Sorry, did I knock my mic then? I don't know. I can't always tell until I get to the editing part. Doctor Who. A bit of Doctor Who area. And this is Jason Bourne, of course. And it jumps to Dinotopia. And various images that I've stuck in recently. World of Warcraft on that page. This used to have a digital, like, flowers and stuff on that, and I thought, well, to be honest, I want to put other things on there too, so I've kind of semi covered it really. And then I've just got piles of papers in the back that I could put in here, but I'm afraid the book is kind of full. But there's like this, it's half done, but I still could put other things on there. It's just finding the right thing to go on there. And then I put a cover on it. I've used a bag to make the cover, like a paper carry bag, and I've made a pocket with that, and it's got the opening still at the top. You can see it's starting to fall apart there. It's a brown paper bag. And so that was the inspiration for my recent Christmas glue book, and I've done it in a fairly similar way, where I've used an Amazon envelope. Again, it's still open at the top. I haven't got anything in it. The trouble is with these deep pockets is you have trouble getting stuff in and out of it. But this one, I have used the odd painted paper, but I've mainly used coloured card or paper throughout the book. And I've just done one big signature, I think, yeah. Where's the centre? This is the centre. Somewhere here is the centre. Not that one, that one. That's my centre. And so I could just stick whatever I want on there. I don't actually have to cover it. I could just put just a random person or, you know, whatever. These plain pages are fine. I'm happy with covering those like I did for my red page over Christmas. You saw that on a video in December. Don't know whether you'll have seen that, because I think I've worked on that, you know, sort of after Christmas. Between Christmas and New Year I did a bit, put some bits in, and none of it's really finished properly. And obviously, because I only made it just before Christmas, I haven't had a chance to work in it very much anyway, so that'll be ready for me for next year. I intend to stick that down to make a bit of a pocket. It's kind of like the picture was on 2 different pages, and so I've ended up kind of, whenever you take an image out of a glue book, out of a magazine, sorry, you always have a little bit that's missing. And I've found if you have a gap, you can line up the image of the bit that's missing and it doesn't look too bad. I found that with spiral bound books, like this big one, just move them all over there. So with this spiral bound one, I'll show you a page that's gone on both pages. There we go, that's a prime example. You can't see it because there's a big pile of books in the way. Don't fall off. Yeah, sorry, this one's a big book. When you, it probably doesn't show on that one. Let me see if I can find another one where it does show up. I know the one I want to look for. Let's see if I can find it. Must be this way. It must be this way. I will find it. Where are you? Ah. Right. So this one, when I did this one on screen, I'm fairly sure I did do this one on screen. When you put this, you can see that this is the same cupboard in this greeny coloured and blue kitchen, and because it's got a bit missing from it, it doesn't show up the same when you've got the spiral in the middle of it. There is another one as well I did, I think, that might also show it if I can find it. That's right, I'm actually having to hold on to the other books because they're sliding off. Because my desk isn't big enough for this sort of book. No, that's not it. See, this one's fairly similar. See, she's got a bit missing here. Her arm's missing, which is probably, you know, down where the spine was in the magazine. And then you can't really tell that there's anything missing, because when you see the image, the whole image, it looks like it completely flows because the spirals have just broken it up and you don't notice bits were missing. It's like, ah, here we go, this is the one I was looking for. So when I lined up the image, I've lined up the train coming down so that it looks like it flows properly, but obviously there's a little chunk missing out of the middle of that, because if you look at this bit, it don't quite line up. And I quite like that, because you visually it hasn't altered it, but you've used a big image, a double page image, which is what this book's all about. This particular glue book is large images, double page images as well, that inspire me, that I love. Everything in here is something I love about it, or whether it be the colour choice, the picture itself, just everything in here will be inspiring to me in some way. I absolutely love this page. I love all the colours. I love the stripes and the really loud sort of patterns. It just screams sort of fun. I just love that. And that's what this book's about for me, is big images that I really love to see, and I just love flipping through it. I mean, I'm not a green fan, but these loaf adverts are, they're all like this. They're all in sort of very casually laying around on a sofa. There's some with beds as well, because Loaf do beds as well. The Loaf is the make of the company that make them, and yeah, I just love them. So even some of the adverts are much more interesting than some of the articles, and yeah, this is out of I think they were not the landscape ones, probably maybe gardening type books or arty books. I'm not sure, I can't remember where that one came from, but a lot of them are Vogue or Elle or Harper's Bazaar. Some have been gifted to me, some are just, you know, cut out of all sorts of other magazines. This one particularly, they're black and white with a touch of colour, and I don't know whether you can tell from this book, but the advert is for Little Green, and those tins are the only colour thing, and they are really dark green, but because they're so dark you can't really tell, and so they just look all black and white. And it's like her, she's just got this gold belt on, the rest of us in black and white. Yeah, so there's lots of ways, lots of books you can use for glue booking. So I'm going to now put these down and we'll see what's next, shall we? So I don't do many random, but I love my colour glue book, and I think that particularly is quite a nice one to start glue booking with. So this was my, no, I lie. My first glue book is this one, and I made it as a junk journal, but I turned it into a glue book, and I wanted to put big images into a book, and I didn't realise at the time, you know, about using notebooks or even thinking about catalogues or other books, so I decided to make one. You don't have to make one, but if you do make books or journals, then you'll have all the necessary tools to make your own, and just have fun gluing it in how you want. There are no rules to glue booking. People say, oh, you're doing that wrong. No, there is no wrong. There are no glue booking police out there telling you how to do it. You choose to do it how you want. And I think in the next video I will go through how I glue book, and from there we will cover, you know, themes and things like that, and how I went about doing my colour glue book, how I did my en masse, the collective I call it, this sort of glue book, and the mini one, and this, I call it a magazine one. It is a catalogue, but it's like a magazine. This one I can show you how to prepare a book like that from a magazine or a catalogue, where you just fold the pages in. You do need to remove quite a lot, because obviously as you fold the pages in, you're doubling it straight away, but you're making it thicker to start with. But I quite like the thin format, and I've got that little green one. Where's that gone? There it is. I've only just started this one, and this is a random one where I'll just stick something in here. You can use stickers in there. You could use, you know, from cut and collage books, you can cut out images to put in here as well. You can use whatever you like. It's your glue book. So what should we do next time? We can do the types and how I actually do it. So I thought we'd just cover the types of books this time, and I'll make another video about how to go about, you know, choosing your themes or whatever you want to do, really. So I hope it was helpful, because obviously you can't glue book if you haven't got a book to start with, and there's lots of ways you can get a book without not too much cost, really. Some of these notebooks are a couple of pounds. I mean, if you're in America, you know, go to the Dollar Tree or whatever it's called, they have all sorts of packs of composition notebooks, I believe you call them there. We just call them notebooks. We don't really use the composition word. We either call them ruled or blank or plain notebooks. Ruled obviously has got the lines on it. I'm going to be making a new one like this one, like this Christmas one. I really loved. I didn't want to stop playing in it, to be honest, which is why I did do a lot more that I hadn't done on screen, because I just love playing in this type of book. It's all winkly and crunchy and lovely and noisy and stuff, but it does get bashed about. So I think the next one, I'm not really going to collage like this on it, because it just gets mucked up a bit, and I'll show you how to make one in not in the next video, but very soon though, because I actually want to make it so I can use it. So I hope that was a little bit helpful on what books you can use for glue booking, and the decisions you might need to make on finding one to get started. Thank you for watching. Please come back and see the next one, part 2, where we cover how we go about glue booking. Keep well, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.